Blast, 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 city, blast, blast, blast. So last time on Big Z's Blast Show, we took a look at Blue and Blast, because at that time it was revealed that Blue was the son of Blast, which was a huge reveal, even to this day, still one of the biggest reveals ever in the series. And also, we only got a real small taste of what Blue could do. We actually didn't really see his full-blown abilities on display yet. We just saw the electricity around him, the implications of his power, and his speed. And it led us to speculate, okay, so this guy's probably an energy manipulator or something like that. Because, it's not far-fetched for beings in this world to be born different. Humans just be born with these supernatural abilities or just crazy things that you normally wouldn't see. It goes both ways. You can be a monster or you could be a human. It's all kind of stemming from one power source, which goes into the overall lore of this series, which I've talked about in other videos. Like Tatsumaki being born with insane Esper abilities to where it's like shocking people when they read her results. So I guess the same thing could be happening, with people being born with energy inside of them that they can manipulate and become superhuman because of that. And that is clearly what is happening with Blue here, because not everything, but almost everything, more or less, that we speculated about in the previous video to this turned out to be true. Like, at that time, we only thought that it could have been this ability based off what he was saying to Genos and everything. Like I said, the implications. But now we see from chapter 128, it is full-blown energy manipulation, and it can come out of his fist, and it's pretty powerful, and it accelerates his body as well. All things that we touched on in that video. Now, while this is awesome and, strengthens Blue, at least in my eyes, as a character, just not, on the power scale, but just overall, but it also gives us more insight into our boy Blast. The dragon that we've been chasing for years now, or you definitely know that I have, and I've kind of been pulling you guys along with me on this journey. Just check out the Blast playlist. There's got to be almost 10 videos in there by now, all speculating about Blast as we just follow this trail of breadcrumbs to the hopefully inevitable day when this dude is revealed. But we are closer than we have ever been at this moment in time, because that brings me to the title of this video, and that is Blast is stronger than we thought. And I know that's crazy because we already thought he was ridiculously powerful, but given from what we've seen of Blue in chapter 128, I assume that Blast has just got to be the apex of this style. So I'm not saying he fights exactly like Blue. I don't think that's the case at all. I'm sure Blast is more of a traditional type of Superman type fighter, nothing special and flashy about it. It's just straight to the point, very workman-like performance. Also, I compared Blue to Deku from My Hero. Please check that video out too. I think that's where one drew inspiration from with this character. But from what we're seeing here, he's already just tearing apart, which I assume is a high demon. And I'm going to be talking about this in my follow-up video, part 2 of how powerful I think Blue is. But the fact that he's able to do this to... he's got to be similar to Bug God. I'm not saying he's as strong as Bug God, but this guy's definitely similar. Both really powerful demons, big, brooding ones with, that excel in durability. Come on, the parallels are obviously there. And the fact that he can slice him up with his, Goku Black Key Hand Sword and the one big fist cannon thing that he does... This is super impressive just for anyone, regardless of S-Class or whatever, but... the fact that he is 16 years old and is able to do these feats really makes me believe the Fubuki excerpt from the data book even more. And I know this is a polarizing bit of information. Trust me, I get it. I'm not in delusion thinking that this is 100% gospel. One put it in there to tell us this is the absolute truth. I know that, I understand how one works by now. I've been following this series long enough to realize that, don't take everything he says at face value. A lot of the stuff that he says has to be taken with a grain of salt. He also purposely leaves things ambiguous because he wants you to have these conflict of emotions. Sometimes writers and mangas just do this. I really do think that there is some truth in this hyperbole here. But let me go over it one more time. So Fubuki speculates that Blast is stronger than King, can shoot lasers from his eyes, rules over psychic powers, and has the ability to command trillions of robots. She hypothesizes he could beat the rest of the S-Class all at once. So as I've been saying, I don't know what the robot things mean. We haven't seen any robots yet, aside from like the organization. So does that mean that Blast confirmed to be leader of the organization? Maybe. I don't know. But ruling over the psychic powers, unsure about that. I thought maybe it meant that he was an Esper. Obviously, that's kind of being debunked now with us seeing Blue's abilities and everything. So maybe that means he's just too strong for Espers to control him. But then stronger than King, shooting lasers from the eyes. Come on, this has got to be true. This has definitely got to be true now. I mean, we see Blue's energy on display. Like in the previous video, like I said, we didn't see it yet, but this is showing that he can manipulate his internal energy. So it makes sense that somebody who is like at the top level of this can shoot lasers from his eyes, because that's the same thing going on with Espers. It's heavily implied that like if you're a really well-trained, super powerful Esper, that you have access to abilities that the other Espers don't have, such as shooting lasers from your eyes. And, you know, we've seen the psychic whirlwind from Fubuki, and also like looking into the literal future is another thing that Espers can do, you know, like Psychos, Madame Shibawa. So if we give the same kind of nuance to this energy manipulation ability, I don't see why it's so crazy to think that Blast can like fire off these super powerful lasers or beams from his eyes or whatever. I mean, this is going to go back to Boros like I talked about in the previous video, but now this makes me think that the Boros similarities are there more than ever. Blast is possibly just a better version of Boros. Like maybe that's where one wanted to take this character. Like he showed us Boros. He was like, okay, this guy is pretty much the poster boy for what being powerful is in this series. And his, you know, he will have echoes on the power scale for years and years to come until we come to Blast, who might be his successor, because like Boros was an energy manipulator. That was his thing. Like he said it himself, and that's how he was able to come so strong. We saw that he himself can fire off projectiles of his energy. I just see Blast pretty much doing the same thing, and he could probably move at a similar rate of Boros as well. I mean, like we saw how Blue can move here. It's implied to be pretty fast, also going off of him trailing Saitama in the previous chapters that we already analyzed. And like I've said before, you know, Blast is probably super fast, considering he's able to defeat the strongest ninja in history. So he's got to be like Boros, but better. And by better, I mean just like Boros didn't really incorporate like the energy projection into like his overall offense. Like he was just a straight brute force blitzing type of athletic striker, no blocking, whatever. It was just constant pressure. And then when he was stationary, he would shoot like an energy projectile or something. But Blast could just be like everything all at once. Like he's all up in your face like Boros would be, but he's also shooting lasers from his eyes, shooting lasers from his fist, or he's shooting those fist cannons that like we saw Blue can do. I mean, come on, Blast has got to be able to do that. And it's possible Blast even has a key sword like Blue. Like maybe that's where Blue learned it from. So now Blast has like a key sword on top of his other crazy abilities of moving super fast. So what I'm saying is just like improved Boros. He's just Boros with more moves and maybe even a better approach to fighting, like a better fight IQ than Boros. But just like that type of character that I'm describing right there, which could be close to what Blast is actually like, maybe, you know, possibly, but I think that is worthy enough to have the praise of Fubuki saying that he could beat all of the S-Class at once, because Boros in his released form, a lot of us think that he could probably take the entire S-Class. I mean, like the known S-Class, of course, you know, exclude the outliers like King and Metal Knight, but I think that if just that or even Meteoric Burst Boros could get the job done here, then it makes sense that Blast could as well. Am I putting too much hype on him? Maybe, but I think it's just right, because I still do think it's 100% going to happen that Blast will be Saitama's next big fight in the series. He has to be. It would be, I don't know, kind of disappointing if he wasn't. So he's got to be super powerful. So come on, why not? But let me know what you think about Blast and the ever-continuing saga on getting to the bottom of who he is and what he's all about. If you liked the video, if it entertained you, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon that gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.